podcasting, the final frontier. These are the continuing voyages of the podcast Written Off. Its ongoing mission to talk about strange, super movies, to seek out new storylines and new, improved endings to these films, to boldly go where no written off episode has gone before. Welcome to another scintillating. Is that actually how you pronounce it? I've got no idea. I've always just assumed it's scintillating, and I'm just going to run with it. Welcome to another scintillating Written Off. You have made the right choice. You have clicked that download button. You have rated and reviewed us 5 stars. Of course you have. And you've jumped on our Instagram and left a comment because you are the kind of listener we want. Hello to our new listeners. I see you. Clearly, we got a lot of big fans in India. I don't know why, but we do. And I love it. Mark, did you know we got our first written review the other day?
No.
I'm catching you unawares. Well, I would catch you unawares if I could find the fucking photo I took. Oh, I seem to have deleted it.
You absolute mother.
Let me just grind this intro to a fucking screaming halt.
Recording. Cancel.
Fuck it.
You actually deleted it. I just saw that you posted on Instagram I can't even remember what it was called, Earwig. I still don't know what it's called, even having watched it and recorded a podcast. What's it called? Earwig the Witch? No? Earwig?
Earwig and the Witch. I've written that. I've got the show notes, all that kind of stuff. My brain still goes, and the Angry Itch. Because there's that other movie, Hedwig and the Angry Itch or something. Yeah.
I saw that come up and thought, wow, that's the one they've all been waiting for. A film no one's heard of. It's been disowned by literally everyone.
Disowned would mean there'd be some kind of shame or black mark. This is just like, oh, we didn't make that movie. This is from a reviewer calling themselves Glazed Donut. Make of that what you will. And I think that is perfectly fitting for our show. Someone takes the time to put their thoughts and their passion into a review, and their handle is Glazed Donut. Semi-sexual. It's about food. Love it.
Semi-sexual? Which part of it's
well, glazed.
Oh, right. Not the donut bit. Okay.
All right. So here we go. The heading for the review is very, very simple. Fun. 5 stars. Love a movie podcast where the hosts don't take themselves too seriously. The points they mention about the films are usually solid.
That's not a 5-star review. Is that it?
That is it. That's the 5.
Oh, dear.
Okay, so Mark, what do you make of such a scintillating review?
Could be a friend of mine. A friend. I say that as though there are many.
No. It could be a friend of mine because it's from New Zealand.
Could be the friend that's sitting in the holding pen right now to talk to you.
Oh, no. He would never leave such a glowing review.
No, would he not?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but the word usually is hanging there, isn't it? I think that's AI. The thing is, you've read this out. You've made a mistake because this podcast won't be released for another year. By then, there might be another comment.
There might be 3. We might have 3 whole reviews. As it is, I'm scrolling through countries. Like, for example, I'm like, Angola. No idea what the fuck Angola is. Has Angola left us a review? Nope.
Angola's listened. Someone from Angola has actually listened.
No.
Oh.
Dominican Republic. No reviews. Let's have a look here. Maldives. Can't pronounce it either way. No review.
Yeah, but have there been any listens? You can't review it if you haven't listened to it.
Let's get into the weeds, mates, shall we? Here we go. Peel back the podcast curtain and let's have a look where your audience comes from. Mark, would you be surprised to know that 34% of our audience is based in what country?
Well, you've
Wrong.
You said, would you be surprised? That means you have to tell me.
No, because you wouldn't be surprised either way, because you're not that kind of person. It is Japan. 34% of our listening audience is in Japan.
I wouldn't be that surprised.
Okay, 28% is the UK. 20% is in the United States of America. Hello, Americans. How you going? 2.25% is in Australia. Wrapping things up is Vietnam. Vietnam with 2.25%. Hello, you people there in Vietnam. How's the weather?
How many people from your country are listening?
11.24%.
0.24. That makes it sound like there's more than like 10 or 12 people listening.
Yes, confirmed. There is more than one person in New Zealand listening to this podcast. I'm not even including myself. Still, no motherfucking Canadians yet. That really irks me. I won't stand for it. I'm telling you. Also, where's the Philippines?
I'm not even sure I could point it on a map. So,
mates, we have for you a delightfully special episode. Why is it delightfully? Why is it special? Because for the very first time in written off history, we have a guest star. And isn't this amazing? And no, I'm not talking about one of Mark's many cats. No,
I've got two.
That's many. That's many cats. I am talking about the illustrious guest star. That is my dear friend, Corran Lindsay. Corran, you've been just sitting there in silence, listening to Mark and me just bitch and moan. Speak up so the audience at home knows you are real.
Hello, everyone. I'm real.
You've proved absolutely nothing with that. So I love it. Love it.
What was this comment about AI just before?
Can you just clip that up? We could just stop now. We ain't going to top that.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll catch you next time. Written off. This episode, I'm not even going to say we're doing things differently, because by the very nature of us having a guest star, we're already doing things differently. The reason we have a guest star for this episode, well, to be fair, it's layered. One is just Mark and I just can't be fucked. We could have done research. We could have, written up some notes. I love Mark's comment when he jumped in on the chat. He's like, well, I wrote notes for how many minutes?
Well, the last note I wrote was Spock's put down of Bones, which is your continued predilection for irrelevancy. And I left it at that. Extraordinary thing to say to a friend.
I think that occurs in maybe the 25-minute mark of the movies.
That's probably more than I've done since about Skyscraper. So
Skyscraper broke you. You're like, I'm going to give no, I'm not. I'm not going to give one single shit.
That's a falsehood. I do care. I know if the more notes I write, unbelievably, the worse it gets.
People say that about my writing as well. So, hey.
Oof.
One of the big reasons we have Corran with us in this episode is because we're talking about a franchise, specifically one particular movie that has a lot going for it. Now, I'll say this right up front for you all here and now. I got a question for you, dear listener, and I'm hoping it's a Canadian listener at some point. I'm just going to keep milking that like Ed Gein milking some cow tits.
I think it's Gein, isn't it? Do you mean Charlie Hunnam's Ed Gein? Is that what you're referring to?
Corran was mentioning that he saw the Netflix show and just pretended you laughed.
Sensual editing.
Yeah.
A seductive way that he milked that cow.
Yeah, it is grim, isn't it?
Wait, so you've both seen this Netflix show?
I think I've seen maybe 2.5 episodes at work.
First episode, he's milking the cow, and then he's dipping his hands in milk, and then he's pulling his hands out of milk, and then he's doing some more stuff to cows, and then he's caressing the cows.
That's Netflix for you. Just willing to try whatever tactic they can to drive up those views. We are looking at a Star Trek movie. Now, if you do not know Star Trek, which there are people out there, if you are not a fan of Star Trek, which there are people out there, if basically anyone mentions to you, Star Trek, and you instantly turn off, this is probably not the episode for you. Mark is a Star Trek fan. I'm a Star Trek fan, but Corran, our dear guest on this podcast, he is a fan who is steeped in much more lore, much more behind the scenes information, and quite frankly, much better opinions than I have So I thought it was vital that we get him on the show to talk about this. Now, Mark and I, we have done one Star Trek movie already.
Have we?
Do you even remember recording it?
Absolutely not. What was it?
Mates, look forward to October 2029, where we debut the Star Trek Into Darkness written off episode.
Yeah, but that's an alternative timeline one or whatever. Alternative universe one, so it doesn't count. That's why I'd forgotten it.
We are looking at Star Trek, the motion picture. Yeah, we're not looking at a recent Star Trek movie. We're not looking at the J.J. Abrams reboots. We're not looking at Star Trek Discovery or anything current. No, we are going to hit the most vital, viral thing that Star Trek has ever produced, 1979's Star Trek, the motion picture. Our 5-year mission starts now. The year is 2270-ish. Close enough. A mysterious and powerful alien cloud inches ever closer to Earth, covering everything in its path in a blue lightning stuff thing. Tearing himself away from watching tribble porn, Admiral James T. Kirk takes control of the newly refitted Starship Enterprise to lead it on a mission to save the planet. Will no one seemingly want to be on board this ship? Why is the movie so slow? Something that actually caused the actor who plays Scotty, old Jimmy Doohan, to fall asleep at the film's premiere? Why did the bald woman fascinate child-aged Mark so much? Let's find out. There. How's that for a fitting plot summary, huh?
I just keep waiting for Corran's screen just to go black and him to have left the group. Well, this is very good, Brad.
Oh, fuck off. Son of a bitch. This is very good. Keep hanging yourself out to dry. Just, yeah, I'll fix it in the edit. Don't worry. Yeah. By the way, I love that the poster for Star Trek, the motion picture. Listeners, you know what I'm talking about. Movie posters, they always have like a log line or a tagline. Something to, I guess, studios believe that'll hook you into seeing the movie. Jurassic Park has the famous log line, 65 million years in the making. Star Trek, the motion picture, has, I think, one of the coolest log lines, taglines I've ever seen. And in fact, I'm going to use it for our podcast. When someone says to me, what is the log line of your podcast, Bradley? I'm going to go, it is this. There is no comparison.
Oh, is that what it is?
So I'm looking at the poster right now. Big title, Star Trek, the motion picture. Right under that, in block letters, there is no comparison.
So they're saying, please don't compare us to Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wish it had just said that straight up. Please don't compare us to Star Wars.
All right.
Is that true? No, seriously, man. Is that true?
Yes, I'm looking at it right now. There is no comparison.
The thing I knew about this film, this is the first time I'd seen it, and I'd always avoided it because I'd been told it was esoteric and slow and weird, which it is, but that's right up my street as an adult now. Anyway, there's the bald lady. She seemed to be really, really prevalent in a lot of the stuff that I saw about it. I think even the VHS cover. She was the face that I would zoom in on when I was looking at the promotional material. I don't know if that was just a British thing, if our fetish for bald women took over the marketing, but
what?
All I remember thinking was, it's about a bald woman. I didn't know that her race was what are they? They're like the temptresses of the universe, aren't they? Once you've had sex with them, you can't have sex with anyone else. See, I've done my research.
Mark is talking about Persis Kambata. I'm probably mangling the pronunciation of that name, playing Ilya. And you are right, Mark. Even looking at the movie poster, you've got, of course, William Shatner, front and center. Leonard Nimoy, front and center. You've got DeForest Kelly. Nowhere to be fucking found on the poster. It is exactly. Persis Kambata. Yeah.
She was a model, was she, Corran? I'm going straight to Corran here with the big money question.
She was a model, and she was originally cast in the Phase 2 television show they were going to make.
Now, Mark, do you know what phase 2 is?
Yes, I fucking do. See, you don't think I've done any
Oh.
research, but I have.
I was expecting to be like, what? Like, just like you were for the fucking poster. I thought you'd be like,
Just like I was for the film I'd forgotten I'd reviewed. No, I have. I quite like Trek. And I want to very quickly right now credit there's a YouTuber, his name is Orange River, and I've become quite fascinated with this gentleman. He does very straight reviews and very calm and great to go to sleep to, and I mean that as a compliment. And he did a lot of the research for me without him knowing it.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Before we get into the episode as a whole, Corran, can you just fill in the audience a little bit about yourself, how we met, your favorite smells? I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say our favorite positions.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we met in high school, probably almost through Star Trek as like a total nerd. Because we took art, we had this little folder thing to keep all your artwork in, and I'd painted mine with a big Star Trek logo on it. And so I think Brad was like, hey, there's a guy that watches Star Trek. I watch Star Trek. Maybe I'll talk to him. So that's sort of how
Oh.
No,
You're completely wrong. Lauren.
You're fucking wrong.
We met over a...
Oh, it was that orgy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I remember hearing secondhand about this Corran guy and that he was a Star Trek fan. So one day in art class, Corran was in the row ahead of me. I remember, I can close my eye and I can still see this. I remember leaning over and tapping him on the shoulder, to which he recoiled and turned around slowly, like you do in a horror movie. Like, you know, when like the monster is behind you in a horror movie. Corran did that. He very tepidly, fearfully turned around to look at me.
And a cat leaped out. I was like, right now.
Yeah, like, oh.
Yeah.
And I just said to him, so I hear you like Star Trek. And Corran's answer, which was perfectly Corran, of all the things he could have said, he just goes, yeah. And a friendship was born.
The reason he was so surprised was because he couldn't believe there was a second row of children in a New Zealand school. He's like, the fuck, there's more of us. Can I ask a question, please?
Please.
Your
do.
Star Trek fandom, you two, was it TNG at that time? What would it have been at that time?
My first one was seeing Star Trek 6 when it came on TV.
Okay.
I caught just the ending of it, and I was like, that was really cool. This is number 6. There must be 5 more of these. I had like no idea there was like a TV series in Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine was starting at that point. I was just like, and there was internet, but it was like a page took half an hour to load internet.
Yeah.
I'd just go to the video store and be like, what?
6 is a good one, yeah.
Can you remember what was the order you saw them in? Like, did you track down one and go through it in order, or did you watch TNG or what?
Saw one pretty late in the piece. And yeah, I was just renting stuff that had Star Trek on it. And so it was like baffling because I think I watched 6 and then 2, 3, 4, and then the Deep Space Nine pilot. And I was like, how the fuck is this Star Trek? There's no Enterprise, there's nobody is the same. Then there was Star Trek The Next Generation, and I watched a tape of that expecting it to be like Kirk's son and Spock's daughter, and because it was the Next Generation. And then I was like, who's this bald guy?
Yeah.
These people, like, are they just putting Star Trek on anything? Like, yeah, it took a while to actually even understand what I was seeing. And then I think I'd say Next Generation would have been in like late season 4 when I started watching it on TV. But we were also like probably a good like 3 years behind America as well. So you'd get the magazines and stuff saying, here's what episodes have been made and what's coming out and stuff would be like 3 years ahead of where we were. And then so you'd watch it, and then if you were lucky, when it was time for a new season, they'd play a new season, but sometimes they'd just repeat last season again. So now you'd be another year behind. So it was, you don't know how easy you got it. You see people in the Next Generation, those Blu-rays where they painstakingly rescanned from the negatives and rebuilt all the special effects. And then, it came out and it was like $90 a season or something. And people were like, this is outrageous. It's way too expensive. Like, I was paying $25 for 2 episodes on VHS.
Wow.
So by the time you get like a season.
Wow.
So yeah. Why can't they have love in their hearts?
I don't know.
My Star Trek was a little bit different. I'm enough years old that I remember when the first episode of The Next Generation debuted on New Zealand TV. And weirdly, it debuted with The Simpsons. Simpsons was at 7 o'clock, and then The Next Generation was at 7:45.
No, it's not weirdly. You've copied that off us, as you have so many things. BBC 2, Simpsons at 6. I believe that's correct. Star Trek Next Generation was at 6:30. So you're an hour behind us on that. But I believe that's because that's how I used to watch it. But as Corran said, I don't even think, well, no, he didn't say this, but I'll put words into his mouth. I think they didn't even put them on in sequential order. Best of both worlds, definitely they did, because they had the cliffhanger. And I remember at the time, I don't know how old I was, thinking, Jesus, wow, this is really, really great. I wonder if all episodes are like this. Turned out they weren't. And then that did come on the week after. So we must have been, I reckon we're probably a year and a half behind. I'm not sure we were 3 years, but we were, for a long, long time, that was on about that 6:30 slot after The Simpsons. Yeah, so the same. The thing I remember first is the kind of God bit of Generations. It is Generations, isn't it? That has, no, is it? No, it's not. Is it 5? It's 5. See, that's how I remember the God part of 5, but Malcolm McDowell being there. So obviously that's sort of like a bit of a fever dreamy. So they used to be on, it'd be like a Sunday afternoon. Oh, 100% TNG. That even now, that would still be my reference point. TOS episodes, I can count the number I've seen on one hand, because when I was very little, I saw the episode with that really creepy alien that I can't even describe it.
The salt alien, the salt thing, or
quite possibly, and it terrified me as a kid. And it's the one that's like the floating. Oh God, I'm pretty sure you're thinking of the same thing.
Someone's bodyguard just goes like, and like, doesn't it like fucking knock out? Like, doesn't it like punch out Worf or something? Or
that thing, yeah,
that one. Can you see that? That's really useful for everyone
listening. Yeah, highly descriptive. Good on you, mate.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. But Balok, her name is Balok. Balok. I'll just keep saying Balok until someone says something else.
This is what you came here for, listeners. You came here, I told you, scintillating. And look at what we're delivering to you now.
You told them usually good points.
So, as we do with almost every episode, we'd like to start with a discussion about what have you been seeing recently. And Corran, you are the guest host on this episode. Corran, what have you seen recently?
I saw Sorcerer for the first time.
Oh.
And Persona.
Oh.
Look at that, a man after Mark's heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one battle after another. Modern Times by Charlie Chaplin.
Bloody hell.
Once again, I'm here in the corner just being like, saw a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Local boutique video stores, a list of the 500 most essential movies, and I'm working my way through because I felt when I added up the ones I'd seen and it only came to 130, I was like, oh, that's probably not so good. So I've been trying to knock off about 5 a week.
So one battle after another it's Paul Thomas Anderson, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest budget he's ever had to work with, right? Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that's taken up with actors' salaries, DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro. And yeah, I mean, I suppose it's quite big in terms of scope and action scenes compared to his other stuff.
A production budget rumored between 130 to 175 million dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 movie economics.
I watched Cleopatra recently, and its budget adjusted to today's was like 411 million.
Yeah, take that, Brad.
Oh, damn. The Cleopatra comeback. Ah, it's always my weakness. Mark, what are you seeing recently?
Yeah, I saw that as well, yeah.
Holy shit, mates! Did you hear that? Mark actually went to the cinema. Is it your first time in 4 years?
I can't remember. No.
It was Long Legs.
No, I've seen something since then. I can't tell you what it was, but yeah, I enjoyed it. There's a sequence, I'd say it's roughly in the middle, maybe a little bit after the middle, and it's not a one shot, but it feels like it is. It has the energy of a one shot, and Leo's rambling this way and Del Toro's looking cool, and then he's going this way and he's up on the roof, and that bit was a rare moment where I was genuinely excited. I was like, oh, I'm excited by this. And it's a really thoughtful film. I mean, it's a film that you could talk about quite a lot. I think there's a lot to say about it. A really good 3 odd hours of my life.
It's very much a movie set in its time. Like, it'll be interesting to see, like, 20 years from now, we'll be like, oh, I remember when the world felt this hostile towards everyone.
Yeah.
The car chase towards the end, I thought, was like one of the most freshest sort of original takes on car chase I'd seen in a while.
He uses hills really well, Brad. Yeah, and also he felt quite gonzo as well. I was thinking if you would, I remember a time when I was running away from a knife-wielding Brad, and I think if we'd have had a bit more time than the 20 minutes we did have, yeah, like where he puts the camera and felt, yeah, like you say, it felt really fresh, which is good, because how many times have you seen a car chase? So hats off to it.
It got me grinning because I was like, you do see so many car chases, and this was the first time in forever. I'm like, this is a new car chase.
Yeah.
I remember watching a film maybe about 2 years ago that had a car chase, and they filmed it mostly with drones. All the cars, their windows were down. So the drones, amazingly, were like zipping in and out of the cars through the car windows. And it was stunning to behold, but it was also quite sickening to watch. It was just like, you should probably do less of this. But still, whenever you see something fresh and good, I will remember this moment. This is something new. And I mean, I think most people of our generation kind of touchstone would be the Matrix. Everyone remembers their Matrix moment because so much of that movie, for some people, was quite fresh and new.
I never found out what movie it was from. I saw, like, there was a behind the scenes one time, like before drones, where they had like a Steadicam operator that was like a parkour guy, and he was just jumping through the cars while filming everything.
What have I seen recently, you guys are asking? Well, geez, I won't bore you, but I saw Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg absolutely flooring me with cinematic perfection in Flight Risk.
It got the dead fucking silence it deserved. Yeah, go on.
Mates, you've all been there before. You've seen a genre TV show, like let's say a police procedural or some shit like that. And let's say they catch this serial killer, put him, her behind bars. And you've got one episode where the characters will talk to this presumed bad guy. And as a viewer, you just sit there going like, oh man, they're going to break out. They're going to do a mind trick, or they're going to fake out. They're going to taunt the FBI. They'll find a way to break out. This movie is like, oh, hold my beer. I can do that too. It's like, oh, we're going to chain up Mark Wahlberg to the back of a plane. How's he going to get out? He's not. and then the movie still has fucking 79 minutes to go. Fuck.
Yeah.
Was it just 90 minutes of Mark Wahlberg chained in the back of a plane?
Pretty much. By the way, speaking of log lines, movie poster log lines, guess what Flight Risk's logline tagline is on the poster?
Please don't compare us to Star Wars.
Yeah.
It is, y'all need a pilot?
Y'all, as in Y''ALL.
Yes. Because that's what he says in the movie.
Right. They just watched a bit of the film and went, yeah, that's fine.
It's in the trailer, and they're like, fuck it. We'll put it on the poster too.
Worked for Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Did it come out? Did you go to the cinema to watch this?
No.
Was it released in the cinema? I don't.
Flight Risk, yes, was released in the cinema.
Is Mel eking his way back in? I've not been following his. Isn't he like cinematic attaché to Trump or something? Isn't he? Isn't that his role now? I don't know what, him and Voight and someone else.
Yeah, Eastwood.
Fucking hell.
Eastwood?
Yeah.
Wait, Clint Eastwood, really?
After his talking to the chair,
with Obama, yeah. But I thought he toned down that shit. Oh wow.
No one. Yeah, I don't know if he knows what he's doing. Oh, Diane Keaton's dead, by the way. That's a bit sad. Her line delivery, I saw Pacino, a little archive interview of him talking about, no, it wasn't. I think it was Coppola said her line delivery. And I will say it is true. She had a unique line delivery. No one delivered lines like her. He seemed really young. Like, I don't know why. I was really surprised by that.
After that, scintillating. Just beginning.
You fucking brought up Mel Gibson. That's not our fault. Corran wheeled out Persona, fucking Saucer, and you went, I saw Mel Gibson.
I didn't see Mel Gibson. He's nowhere to be found in the movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
For better or for worse.
I'm going to segue us. The poster for Flight Risk, I remember seeing it where it's Mark Wahlberg with a really wrinkly forehead and being like, is there a movie about Klingons coming out?
Hey, there you go. That's better than any segue you've done, Brad. Very good.
It is. I will retire my Segway King crown and digitally mail it to Corran. Friends, we are talking about 1979's Star Trek, the motion picture. Now, for those of you still listening, thank you so much, by the way, for enduring that. Think of the Star Trek that you know. Captain Picard lecturing others on morals and thinking before acting, all that kind of good stuff. This movie is not that. Think of Kirk and Spock and McCoy getting up to fun. Oh, no. This movie is not that. Think of Star Trek Discovery with its attention deficit camera work and flashy special effects dazzling you before you can actually get a sense of if you even damn well care about these characters or not. No, this isn't that either. Think about Deep Space Nine with its layered, rich, multi-season storytelling. Murky character choices and murkier machinations. No again. Think of the Borg doing Borg shit, blowing up something, or Klingons shouting, or Romulans backstabbing, or massive universe-ending stakes with a lone Federation starship holding the floodgates. Well, listeners, 1.5 out of 4 ain't bad, right? Directed by Robert Wise, with a screenplay by Harold Livingston, and a story credited to nerd writing god Alan Dean Foster. It's time to talk about a very unique, very singular, very special Star Trek film that is completely unlike its many, 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 many brothers and sisters. Alan Dean Foster. Mark, quick quiz. Do you know who that is?
No.
It's one of those people that you'll be like, oh, yes, I do know who this person is, and I don't give a fuck.
Tell us who to not give a fuck about, bro.
Yeah, please.
Movie novelizations are a genre unto themselves. Sometimes they really, really stick to the screenplay, either by contract or by choice. Other times they deviate wildly. For example, they're based on a first draft of a screenplay, and then the movie's so rushed, novelization had no choice but to go off the first draft. There are legendarily famous novelizations. Alan Dean Foster wrote all the big budget movie novelizations.
No, he got credited because the movie started out as an episode for phase 2. And so because they took the initial story elements to make the motion picture, he then sued them to be like, no, I came up with the story. I still get credit.
You've instantly demonstrated more knowledge than Brad and I have a year and a half on any film. So you're going to have to stop that now because we already look shit enough.
Alan Dean Foster has written the novelizations for Corran. You watched a movie today starring Sean Connery named...
Outland.
He wrote the novelization for Outland. He wrote the novelization for Krull, The Last Starfighter, The Thing.
Buying a novelization of Outland.
Chronicles of Riddick.
Fucking hell.
Transformers, Terminator Salvation, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Covenant Origins.
I could understand these novelizations back when you had to wait 3 years for it to come out on video.
Exactly.
Like, I want to relive this movie again.
Yes.
But Terminator Salvation, just watch Terminator Salvation.
I want to read it. The only novelization I've ever had is Ghostbusters 2. I don't know what that says about me. That's the only novelization I've ever read. Alan Dean Foster also wrote a series of fantasy novels, the 5th of which is called The Paths of the Perambulator. There you go. Don't get more niche than that. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So are we saying this is the only... Oh, no, hang on. Yeah, the only 2 things he's been credited for film-wise are this and Welcome to Paradox.
He is the most famous movie novelization writer. Like he's well known. I'm surprised he hasn't actually got involved in more filmmaking.
Being the most famous server at McDonald's. I don't know.
Oh, take that.
If Jean-Claude Van Damme can direct a fucking movie, I'm pretty sure Alan Dean Foster can get a job.
But he's writing after the fact, right? He's the king of writing after the fact, which is a massive skill, which I'm not underrating, but obviously that's his bag, or that's the bag he's been put into. I'm not quite sure which.
So you're saying he's the king of sloppy seconds?
Oof, no, you're saying that.
Ed Gein was the king.
Yeah. God.
So for this movie, I may have sought it out when I was younger and turned it off or returned it to the video store or something because it never held sway. And then, as Corran will get into later on, there was a DVD release back when DVDs were quite a boom. And the director, Robert Wise, went back and made it a flashy director's cut.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when, Corran, you got that DVD, I sat down and watched this movie with you, and I must have had some kind of aneurysm because I don't remember anything about it. So for me, honestly, watching this movie for this episode of the podcast, it was my first time. What about for you, Mark? So this was the first time for you as well, right?
I don't remember it being shown on TV here. As a child, people our age, the information you got was very disordered and a bit chaotic and from random sources, usually like people at school. But I just heard that it was a boring, slow, esoteric, nothing of a film. That's what I'd heard, and it kind of is. But that's why I like it. I mean, I really enjoy it. I only watched it 2 days ago and I really, really enjoyed it. It's got Tarkovsky influences and we'll talk about maybe some of its influences later. And that's my thing. So I really enjoy, but as you say, it's incredible that they put this out 10 years after it's been cancelled. Well, yeah, by the time it's put out, 10 years after the series was cancelled. So it was my first time seeing it. I watched a couple of Deep Space Nine episodes last night just to get a kind of feel of the comparison. That's so much the flow I'm used to. And you watch this and yeah, all right. The pacing, which everyone talks about ad nauseum, but the pacing of it just, yeah, I don't know. Obviously from a different time, but so different when I watched it the other day. And yeah, as I said, really enjoyed it, which is not your question, but I've answered that anyway.
I think because I watched it after I'd seen the other ones, it felt like such a departure. Because you go from 2 to 6 and they've all got the red uniform. They've got their chemistry back a bit more in the later ones. And so this one, yeah, I just remember feeling, that it was weird that it was slow and different. And there were certain things that didn't seem to quite line up with 2 or 3. Because 3, they're talking about, well, we've got to retire the Enterprise because it's so old, it's been out for 20 years. And then in this one, they're like, oh, this is a brand new Enterprise. You're like, well, what? I thought it was still old. Especially the non-director's cut. I think the biggest issue I had with that was because all the computer monitors on the bridge had to be rear projected. Having 20 projectors running at a time is really loud. All of the bridge scenes were ADR'd. Uh-huh. And in that original version, there's no Atmos pop back in. So it's just dead silence. In a movie where it's already quite some dialogue, it was just like long periods of just absolute silence. And it was just like, oh man, you're making this hard to watch. So one of the best things the director's cut did was actually just add all the beeps and boops on the bridge and the whirring. So the big thing I struggled with was you watch the other movies and some original series episodes, and it's like, this is a group of friends that work on the ship together. And in Star Trek 1, you just feel like this palpable, I don't want to be here from everyone. Bring McCoy back and he's like, I don't want to be here. And Spock comes back, he's like, I don't want to be here. And then even the crew run up to Kirk and they're like, yay, it's Kirk. And he's like, look, we've got a probe, I don't have time for you people. And Scotty taking him across on the pod is just like, these are 2 people that do not like each other. And you're like, shouldn't these people we were led to believe were really good friends? And they just seem to like, there's just this awkward social distance between everyone. Why aren't these people friends in this movie? Because it's a pivotal sort of thing when Spock's like, Vija can't understand the simple human touch. And it's like, no one in this movie can understand human emotions. Like, what are you giving Vija a hard time for?
Before we get into like what does work actually, Corran, can you just summarize basically the production of this movie? How did we get this movie, basically?
It bounced around a lot because Paramount was going through a lot of changes at the time. So Star Trek got cancelled. Then they switched the way that they measure ratings and found even the reruns of Star Trek were outrating a lot of their primetime shows. And they were like, oh, we've made a huge mistake cancelling this. So initially they were going to bring back like a TV movie. And then that changed to, we'll bring it back as a feature movie. And then Paramount were like, we want to launch a new network and we need a flagship show for this network. So then it became, okay, we'll make a series then. They couldn't get the advertisers to back the new TV station, so it got cancelled. But at the same time, Star Wars came out and made all the money there was to be had in the world. So they're like, okay, we'll make it a movie again. It was in this constant state of flux for about 10 years. Even taking into account a lot of the dodgy accounting they did, it was one of the most expensive movies ever made at the time they made it.
On Wikipedia, it has a...
Just Corran's given us a real in-depth, like,
Yeah.
beat by this, and then you've done what I always do is on Wikipedia it says,
But you just have to go down to sources, see what the sources are. Be like, oh, I read in such and such a book.
yeah, but you've gone down to sources. Brad and I didn't know there was a sources section.
Yes. A mere 2.5 weeks before production on Phase 2, which was going to be the new show, the studio announced it had been cancelled in favor of the new feature film. Cast and crew, who had just been hired that Monday, were sent packing by Friday.
They wanted to keep it under wraps that it was going to be a movie. Roddenberry was still giving writers of the episodes notes on, oh, do this and do that, knowing full well their episode was never going to get made.
Wow.
So, what does work about this movie? What actually works?
Out of all of the Star Trek movies, I feel like it's got the biggest sense of scope. You know, this otherworldly alien presence from a franchise where aliens are always just a human with a bump on their forehead. Oh, now we're jumping up to, you know, like a cosmic thing the size of like a solar system is just headed our way and it's completely ununderstandable. It gets a lot of shit for sort of being so self-serious and boring. You know, when you are course correcting from a campy 60s TV show, you kind of have to go all the way the other way to get people to take it seriously. You know, like, while it might have been an era, it also might not have been, because I think maybe if you'd gone straight to, you know, a semi-campy tone, people would still not take it seriously. So I don't know if, I don't know, raised or lowered the bar so that the ones after it could be taken seriously.
All the shit that put me off as a kid, the pace, the coldness of it all, like there is not really any humor. As an adult, I loved. Maybe because I know these characters from the other movies and just the cultural osmosis. Like, I know who Kirk is. I know who Spock is. I know they're best buddies. So seeing this and having them have this tension, this gap, McCoy is really pissed off to be kind of drafted back on the Enterprise. And I love that Kirk is a complete dick.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I love that. Not apologetic about it. I don't think he should be. All the stuff that I think is, quote unquote, a franchise killer, as an adult, I find just fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about the sound, because it is, at times, it reminds me of that scene at the, you know, the medal ceremony scene at the end of the original Star Wars, where people have taken the sound out and it's really awkward. It reminded me of that at times. What strikes you in that first, 20 minutes, like you say, no one seems to want to be there. Some of the editing, incredibly slow, and it'll have the very slow, what do they call it, like Starship porn or whatever, very slow pan across, cut to a reaction. There's a lot of people looking at the things that we're looking at. Everything about it runs against the things that I liked about Deep Space Nine or TNG, but I found it quite alluring and mysterious. And I think it should be alluring and mysterious because space is. Fucking love the score. I have a quick question right from the beginning. So the version I watched, which was rented off Apple TV, before the credits, there's a really long, it's about 2.5 minutes of just stars. What was that? I mean, I enjoyed it. I loved it. And then it goes into the like proper orchestra. What happened there?
Some movies do that, like Sound of Music's another one.
Yeah.
And Cleopatra, where I don't know if it's just so that, like,
Lawrence of Arabia did it too.
Yeah, like people are still finding their seats, and so you're not like being bothered when you're actually trying to see something and some guy's walking in front of you with popcorn.
Yeah.
It's the overture, right?
But an overture with, it's like it's almost introducing the concept of space to you. I like it. like to me, it all worked in a weird way. And I love what Corran says about, yeah, they don't want to be here. That then you go on Vulcan. And I did find out, thanks to my friend Orange River on YouTube, that Vulcan scene, they were originally speaking English, and then it was redubbed when they'd worked out the Vulcan language, and then they chucked that on top of it. Because at the time, I think even one of my notes is it feels weird. The dialogue doesn't feel like it fits. Well, turns out it doesn't. So there's an uncanniness to it, which maybe accidental a lot of the time, but like Corin's saying, but that adds to the mystique of that, especially that first 20 odd minutes.
They only delivered the movie the day before the premiere. They had to actually rent a fleet of private jets to ship the movie to all of the cinemas on time.
Wow.
I don't know if we want to get into production issues yet, but they really screwed up the special effects. And so they'd finished the movie and special effects were supposed to be going on at the same time, but they had hired an advertising firm that had underbid all the other proper production houses. Then they came to find out the guy's advertising business was going under, and he was like, I need to get this job, even though I don't have any of the expertise or facilities to do this job. So to make sure I'll get it, I'll undercut everyone by half. Once production was over, then they checked in with the special effects people to be like, okay, so how's special effects coming along? And they'd completed one shot in the entire time. And so then they had to hire the team that did Close Encounters, who had initially turned it down, but because of all the production delays, they finished Close Encounters and were now open again. And so they hired them back. That was a clusterfuck too, because that company was originally a Paramount company. But when Michael Eisner took over, he was like, I hate science fiction. Why do we have a special effects department? I'm never making a science fiction movie. Science fiction sucks. So he fired them and then had to rehire them all back at the last minute. So that company was headed by, I think it's Doug Turnbull, who did 2001. And he ended up hospitalized because he had to do a whole week of all-nighters to get it done in time. He had like stomach ulcers and collapsed and was in hospital for 10 days. They were literally like, here's a special effects shot, put it in the movie. Here's another one, put it in the movie. Robert Wise didn't get to see the movie till the premiere. So that's probably why a lot of those weren't so much choices. It was like essentially the rough assembly cut.
It's interesting because Brad and we've talked quite a lot about production in other films and how it's affected the finishing product. And this is maybe the best example of how those issues have formed, again, especially that opening and how it's sort of, well, it works for me, maybe for a lot of people that sat in the theater, like, what the fuck is this? But for me, it worked quite well.
Because when it first debuted on TV, it was an even longer cut. But most of the stuff in that going through the Vija cloud stuff, they had 12 minutes of that.
Wow.
Robert Wise had said, like, this is too much, take it out. But the studio were like, no, we almost didn't release this movie and it cost us millions of dollars for you to get these special effects shots. You're not going to just cut them out now.
Wow.
I think that's a lot of the stuff that people really found boring, was just the constant just drifting through Vija. Like, look how big Vija is. Look, it's this big and it's this big. And that just went on and on and on. And the director's cut shrinks that down to the essentials a bit more.
I like how dangerous it makes space.
Mm.
Every episode, they beam down to a fucking planet. Something happens. Red shirt gets killed. So it's nothing new. But for this, that transporter sequence always stuck with me. So as a kid, even up to an adult, when I was sitting with you, Corran, watching this, the only thing I remember about this movie is the screams and the death of these two hapless people getting transported. And it's still terrifying.
Yeah.
The audio work. Ooh, and then that line. Yeah, as a horror writer, I always like lines that get across the carnage without showing it. And, what we got back didn't last long.
Oh, yeah.
It's even like what we got back, thankfully, didn't last long.
Yeah.
It was even worse.
Yeah, it's a horrific, really genuinely quite scary, as you say, the threat. And a lot of the snarky reviews that I'd read back in the day were, oh, here comes a scary cloud. Who the fuck, as Corran said, usually it's a man with a bump on his head screaming, but here we've got a cloud. I mean, it fucking scared me. It's intimidating. And I love the effect, the cloud's little every time it comes on, and then that gets played with a little bit as time goes on, which I also quite liked. Well, Goldsmith, the orchestration, on the side accidentally written one of the most famous theme tunes for any shows of all time, and we'll just use that if that's all right, Jerry, because we ain't getting better than that.
Jerry Goldsmith, noted cinema grump, during a live orchestral, one of his shows, basically, I think it was about 1998 or something, just before he plays his Star Trek theme, he turned to the audience and held up the mic, and he's like, are there any Star Trek fans here in the audience? And of course, people put their hands up, and he's like, well, I'm not one of them.
Beautiful.
But like even the wormhole in this movie, I'm glad my kids weren't watching this movie because that would have terrified them. Just like, holy, because there's nothing like that in any other of the Trek movies. But like, holy shit, here's the space anomaly that is probably going to tear apart the ship. And just, again, the sound design and of course, all the trippy effects. And hey, just the beige uniforms. That's terrifying.
That was the only special effect that the ad company actually did do, was that wormhole effect.
Really?
It doesn't look like any of the other effects in the movie. It's got that weird proto-CGI look.
So, Carl, I got a question for you. As fans, we're used to a studio making a reboot or whatever you want to fucking call it. For this day and age, it is really, really common. And I would say it's necessary. You need another Batman. And I think what makes an IP have longevity is the different iterations. Here's this person's take on this story. My question for you is, this movie completely redesigned the Klingons. The Klingons that we know here and now are because of this movie. Klingon language for the first time, redesigned Enterprise, different uniforms, Spock having removed his emotions, McCoy just seemingly hating everyone. How did the Trek fandom react to this? Because I can imagine very easily, if this movie, a version of this movie was released today, the internet would be aflame. The fuck have you done to my characters? This isn't my Trek or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
What was it like back then?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't met with a lot of love, and people weren't happy with the slow pace, but it was also just like a weird time because it seemed like a lot of the sentiment was, I hated it, but it's the only Trek I've gotten in the last 10 years, so I'll go see it again. Because it did make not make a lot of money in profit, but because it cost so much, but it was like number one in the UK for 3 weeks straight. There were queues around the block for the first screening of it because it was the first big sci-fi since you had Star Wars and Close Encounters had come out. There was a lot of initial hype, but then disappointment. They'd kind of been assuming it was going to be a big Star Wars type movie, and instead it was a 2001 type movie, and they weren't into it.
Initial hype, then crashing disappointment. Sounds like my sex life.
There's no hype, Brad. There's no hype.
Have you been putting off that trip to the doctor? Got a weird oozing sore on your knee that's giving you a hard time? Well, don't worry, folks, because Momo and Matsu is here. Just spray Momo and Matsu on that definitely infected cut, and within 2 days, you'll be as good as new. Working with the body's natural defenses, Momo and Matsu calms and soothes itchy, dry skin until BAM! People will be like, why the fuck does that one piece of skin look so shiny and strange compared to the rest of you? What's that? Your hair is falling out? Put some Momo and Matsu on it, and you'll be as hairy as a Kiwi backpacker tramping their way through the bush, that numpty shitfuck. Cooked up by a batch of professional scientists.
Lies.
Momo and Matsu can even reverse aging.
Lies.
So you can pretend to be younger and still make all the same crappy mistakes you are already making. What are you waiting for? This ad to continue going on and on? Don't you want to get back to the Star Trek talk? Run, don't walk, to Amazon right now and purchase a copy of Momo and Matsu. Now available in book format because we got sued for selling creams and potions, but no one gives one shit about books. Ha ha ha! Momo and Matsu, a book by some dumbass named Bradley Freeman. Give it a read! Or else. So even though we all think this movie's pretty damn good, actually, in hindsight, what was the first mistake this film made for you, writing-wise? What was the first flag for you.
None of the crew seem happy to see each other. Like, I can understand, especially on the page, Bones coming aboard and being immediately grumpy was probably played more for laughs in the script.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it still is kind of funny. Like, he comes aboard and he's just a curmudgeon immediately, and you're like, oh, that's Bones. But it just felt like, maybe you could have at least like Sulu and Chekhov are happy to see each other. Like Scotty and Uhura, maybe. Like some people are allowed to be happy to see each other again.
There's a great shot. I think there is one shot, to be fair, when Kirk eventually gets up to the bridge and they all greet him. There's a shot, which I wish I'd taken a picture of. And then they all look, oh, Captain. That's the only moment. Because just before that, you've got a bunch of people like, oh, for fuck's sake, no one's put the lights up. Has anyone even fucking worked out what a tricorder does? Like, there's a lot of banging and clanking. Maybe that was just footage of the actual
set being constructed. Yeah.
There's that, and that's it. And apart from that, as you say, I couldn't believe the Spock. Yeah, like I said, I'm aware of Spock. I've seen him in the films, mostly as Brad said. I've seen him, obviously, his bit in TNG and that. Very well aware of who he is as a character. And we've already had that introduction to him with his nice long hair. Then he's like obviously had this literal calling to go up to the spaceship. No one seemed to know he was coming. He arrives. He's an absolute arse to them. Great to have you back, Spock, down in the lift. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I started to think, well, obviously, I don't know. Perhaps in the last episode of the original series, it does have that energy about it. The medallion on Bones, like the whole thing. Well, I don't want to be here. Why should you want to be? I like it, but I could certainly imagine as an audience member, it'd be like, what? I mean, imagine that now. Imagine the internet now reacting to that. You can't even conceive it. So, yeah, I think
you could almost say there's like a level of restraint there that you don't see. Because like way later on, they're like, yeah, I was doing this Kolinar ritual to purge all of my remaining emotion. And then you're like, oh, now it makes sense why you're a dick.
Yeah.
But they don't set it up beforehand. Like they say the Kolinar ritual, but you don't know what it means until after he's been a dick to everyone. And then you're like, oh, okay. Which, yeah, nowadays I feel like they would explain that right up front. Like, Spock, you were doing this Kolinar ritual.
Yeah. Even when he, what you call it, breaks or returns to his emotions and he cries, I thought it was quite good, but also a little bit, look, it's shameless, but I would have had an ADR from some like hapless medical person in the background. Oh, Spock, you've got your emotions back. Or saying, because it he's crying, which you can easily infer, he's got his emotions back, but no one says, welcome back, you surly dick. Like, no one says anything.
An orchestral swell, some kind of lightening of the mood, or it's, again, I felt a little bit like, shockingly, you haven't prepared enough for this. There must be something you're missing in terms of these characters' relationship with each other. Something has broken somewhere, and you're just not aware of it. It's not the gang getting back together but I'm sure the audience expected, and even I expected.
In saying that, I know everyone gives William Shatner a ton of shit. You can tell how much Kirk absolutely loves and adores Spock in this movie.
Yeah.
There's no line like, Spock, give me something. Like, there's no obvious line, but it's on his face. The tone of his voice sometimes is almost pleading. It's really, really affecting to see how much Kirk loves Spock. He doesn't seem to give a damn about McCoy. Just like, Bones, I need you. And that's all you get.
Also, maybe it's because Nimoy made Shatner a shit ton of money right before they started, because he wasn't part of Phase 2. He didn't want to come back and do like a TV series again. And he initially didn't want to do the movie because he had a big falling out with Paramount and Roddenberry. They'd obviously, once they realized Star Trek was popular, had been making Spock t-shirts and Spock merch and fake ears, and Nimoy didn't get royalties for any of that.
Yeah.
So he sued Paramount, like, you owe me back royalties for all the stuff you've been making with my license. And Roddenberry backed the studio, not him.
Oh.
Nimoy was pissed at Roddenberry, didn't want to see him again. He was pissed at Paramount. And so part of his condition was, I'm only coming back if you pay me my back royalties I've asked for. So he got it. And because Shatner had a favored nations deal where whatever Nimoy gets, I get, Shatner then got all his back pay for royalties. So
they just filmed Nimoy arriving on set. There was no acting required.
Here he comes. Here comes Leonard.
Yeah.
This guy just made me $1 million doing nothing.
Hiya, Leonard.
Corran, you always hear about Shatner and Nimoy, but you never ever hear about DeForest Kelly. It doesn't seem as though he's either famous enough or big enough, or he didn't give enough interviews. But you always hear about the Shatner and Nimoy of things. But I mean, DeForest Kelly playing Bones McCoy, he is the third lead character. He's a part of the triangle. Why is it that you never hear much about him and what he was going on or doing or complaining about on these movies?
Yeah, well, I mean, you never really saw him in anything else after Star Trek. Like he was in westerns and stuff beforehand. And I kind of feel like, especially in the movie versions, he's probably like the best actor in them. But I just wonder if it's just Nimoy and Shatner both saw themselves as stars and wanted to be the guy, and DeForest was just happy to be there.
I think it's a bit of a Beatles thing, isn't it? You got Lennon and McCartney duking it out, and then George Harrison sitting at the back. Maybe he could have been doing something better. Maybe it's really, really interesting. I agree with you. Whenever I think about the acting in these films, is it the third one where he's got Spock in his head? Is that right? Where he's got, I think he's genuinely incredibly in this as well. He's incredibly watchable, but he doesn't have the ego, maybe.
His comic timing's probably the best out of them too. Like in 4, like he's the funniest one in that group.
Why do you think they made the story choices they did? So my question to you, Corran, why does Kirk be such an asshole to get command back of the ship? Why Uhura and Chekhov and Sulu? I can't remember them having more than 2 lines that aren't look over there or do this or oh no this. Like I can't remember them actually having any lines of characterization. Pretty awful what the movie does to the rest of the crew. It could have been anyone.
It was Harold Livingston wrote it. He quit and was hired back 4 times in the course of making it because he could not stand Roddenberry.
Wow.
From all accounts, Roddenberry had gotten into that mode where I only like ideas generated by me. And so this guy's supposedly writing it, and Roddenberry's just shooting everything down. And it all came to a head because they were filming and they didn't have an Act 3 in the script yet. And it got to the point where is now the probe, and they had no idea how are we going to convince V'Ger not to blow up the Earth. They didn't know. And it was Shatner and Nimoy suggested to Robert Wise, well, what if we treated it like it's just a child? Like it's this massive big thing, mentality of a child, so we'll treat it like a child. And Robert Wise was like, yeah, I love it. And so they went to Roddenberry to be like, okay, this is what, because Roddenberry had got writer's block and he hadn't written anything for 2 weeks. And they were like, you've got to write the scene. We have to move forward. And he's like, I just can't figure out how we're going to convince her. And so they went like, Shatner and Nimoy have this idea. I think it's good. What do you think? And Roddenberry just lost his shit at them. Like, how dare you write? I'm the writer of this thing. Wise then basically went back to the studio. Like, you got to get rid of Roddenberry. We can't work with this fucking guy. Like, he's just holding everything up. If there are shortcomings, it's probably because you just had these 2 people clashing the whole time that was supposed to be collaborating. And then in one of the coldest moves I've ever seen, like when they fired Roddenberry, they told him, you're contracted to do the novelization, which is why Alan Dean Foster didn't do it. They were like, you're contracted to do this, so you are still obligated to go to every screenwriting meeting, but you are not allowed to open your goddamn mouth. You just have to sit there and take notes while the other people write the rest of this movie.
He cucked in his own dream. Wow.
Due to the massive scope and the idea of V'Ger, I was reading that, like you're saying, Corran, the third act was the hardest one to nail, just because how do you defeat something like this? And apparently by March 1979, so this is like a month before shooting, fewer than 20 pages from the original 150 in the screenplay had been retained. Yikes.
I think it might have been when it was still the Phase 2 pilot, because it needed studio approval. There was a first draft that they liked, and then Roddenberry would rewrite it and be like, no, the first draft was better. And so then he'd do another one and they're like, no, the first draft was better. And so like Roddenberry kept rewriting it, and the studio was just like, just go back to the first one the other guy wrote. It was better. So that was, part of where all the problems began.
You can tell. I mean, if you watch enough films, even if you do as little research as I do, you can tell. And you just had the feeling that it worked on the setup, and it has that. And I saw this thing saying, Roddenberry didn't like the Wrath of Khan for lots of reasons, but I think the militaristic element of those later films, which as a kid, I liked your antagonists. I liked, your plumbers coming in and what have you. But now I'm kind of broadly on the Roddenberries. I like the exploration, the science, the thinking and the working out and why is it doing this? And even now, if I go back and watch TNG or Deep Space Nine is a different thing, but let's say TNG, that side of it, and obviously the reveal of Vija itself, I would imagine that would have been something that they'd have had fairly early on, he says, hopefully. But the Corran smiling, that felt quite nice, and then probably fits more into a modern audience's viewing of a film. Oh, here's a reveal. This is the thing. Do you remember? And now it's all been sort of sorted out. But I have a question about Deck. Was he supposed to be, if Phase 2 had happened, he's going to be the captain? Where does he come into it? Do we know?
In the original series, Spock is science officer and first officer. When Nimoy didn't want to come back, they were like, well, we'll have a young science officer and a different first officer. The sort of captain in charge of the space station, the big antenna thing, that was the guy that was going to be the sort of new Vulcan. He went from being like a main character in a TV show to a two-line guy on a space station at the start. He was going to have a more like Data type role where he was full Vulcan. He was like, I'm on a ship full of humans, so to do my job properly, I have to learn what makes these humans tick. So he was on a mission to understand humanity. So it was more of a Data type of character than a Spock character.
So does this movie try to add anything new to the genre or the template? And I would say absolutely yes, because you always get the nerd debate, Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. I would say this movie is the perfect example of the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. Like Star Wars is, of course, action and lightsabers and the Force. And this, I still think this is a really, really good example of this is Star Trek.
You can see it as a template that they used for Next Generation, which is much more an exploration show in its bones. And like a lot of the stuff, Decker and Ilya became Riker and Troy in that pilot. And so, those earlier, more Roddenberry-controlled TNG episodes feel a lot like the motion picture. And Roddenberry takes a lot of shit for it in Next Generation too, like the whole, we've moved beyond conflict and we've moved beyond our petty differences. And so now everyone gets along. And, like a lot of the writing staff criticize him for that because they're like, well, no, drama is conflict. Like you can't have human characters without conflict. But I kind of think doing it different is what set Next Generation apart. Like there wasn't another show where everyone just gets along and is nice to each other and it's just the outside problems coming in. There aren't you don't have Riker cheating on Troy with Tasha and feuds and all this stuff. It's like, no, everyone's just nice. Everyone's cool to each other. So I don't really fault him as much as some people do for that.
So we don't normally get to ask this question, but we normally reserve this for prequels or sequels. So why isn't this movie as good as the others? I'm just going to change that to fit this. For all its win, like you're saying, Corran, it wasn't received the way perhaps Paramount wanted it to. So for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, it was a much, much more reduced budget, right?
Yeah, they fudged the numbers to make Roddenberry look bad as well, because they tacked on to the production budget the cost of Phase 2 and the cost of Planet of the Titans, the TV movie they were going to do. So that added to the budget. And then also what would be standard practice with Star Trek 2, because they used sequences and models and sets from Star Trek 1, you would then split that after the fact half and half and say, okay, it cost half of it for that movie and half of it for that movie. Whereas they were just like, no, we just didn't spend that money on Star Trek 2. So its budget doesn't take into account they got a lot of free shit from Star Trek 1. Even the uniforms, which are different, but they're only different for the main crew. All the other uniforms, they just dyed that shade of red. So they reused the motion picture ones. So yeah, they got a lot of free shit out of Star Trek 1, which helped. It helps reduce your budget.
So Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, that's typically, just like with James Bond and Goldfinger, that's what most fans or most people aware of Star Trek, that's like, here we go. This is Star Trek. Like you're saying, Mark, a little bit more militaristic, humanish bad guy, larger than life stakes. A lot of Trek movies afterwards have tried to replicate Wrath of Khan. No Trek movie has tried to replicate the motion picture.
I kind of think it's a shame because Next Generation, like, foundationally is set up better to be a Star Trek 1 type of movie, where, you know, like, original series was set up sort of actiony, action adventure in space, and then Next Generation was, you know, the captain's now a diplomat and he's on the bridge with his therapist. It's a much, you know, better set up for a more cerebral actual science fiction exploration movie. So I wonder, like, what would have happened if they made Wrath of Khan as the first original series movie and they made motion picture as the first Next Generation movie? Would it have been received completely differently? Because you're like, it fits Next Generation a bit better, I think. It's weird because the original series movies don't really try and copy Khan. It's the Next Generation movies that try and copy Khan.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, that's the feeling I get, because if you look at the list of original series films, some weird shit in there, and in a good way. I mean, whether it always works or not, in a good way, they are. I think that's exactly right. And when you watch TNG movies now, I always feel like, oh, this isn't really the spirit of that show, is it? Like, I don't really get. All right, I know they're making a film, so they're assuming a different audience, and they're trying to cast their net to catch as many casual people as possible and make it exciting and whatever. But the portrayal of Picard from the series to the films to then the eponymous show that came later, a lot of people, fans, are quite angry. And I understand why, because he's gone through a really strange trajectory as a character. So yeah, I would agree with that. I would really agree with that.
Finally, our big last question of the show: what scenes or changes would have made this movie better? You're doing the movie a disservice looking at it through a 2020 whatever lens, because of course movies nowadays, they telegraph things much more. They're faster paced. They sacrifice a lot of character opportunities for simple sight gags or jokes.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just like being received as being lively and actiony, because really the Enterprise fires one torpedo at an asteroid the whole movie, which I like about it. But in terms of general audiences, I just wonder if maybe, say Vija doesn't come from Klingon space and we have that one fight. Say it goes through Romulan space, and so it opens and there's a fleet of Romulan ships headed towards Earth. And then this cloud catches up to them and shoots them all down, and you realize, oh, they were actually just running away from something. Starfleet are scrambling to get their ships there to try and fight the Romulans, and so you can have a skirmish there, and then you realize, oh, they're not invading, they're running, because you can't really have Klingons running away. That doesn't really suit them. Something like that to just set up some conflict going on, not just there's a cloud slowly moving towards us.
There's always an excuse as to why the Enterprise is the only ship in range. This seemingly solar system threatening thing, and the Enterprise hasn't even come out of dry dock yet, hasn't been tested. This is the only ship.
It happens a lot, because that's the same thing with the Enterprise B in Generations. Like, we're the only ship in range. It's like, you're at Earth. Like, there should be hundreds of ships in range.
This is maybe a bit off-piste. I think about how they introduced the Borg, and I remember seeing the episode, you know, where Q buzzes him over to, he's like, you're getting too big for your boots, Picard. Fuck you. Let's go and have a look at this.
That's an actual line from a TV show, folks.
Yeah, and I think that is a good, that kind of could have been done a bit here. Look over there. We've seen you guys fight or be involved in all of these aliens, but this is something and it does do it, to be fair. This is something you can't handle, boys. I'm not even critiquing, I don't even think that's a mistake, but the way that's done, and then obviously best of both worlds, the way it ramps that up really quickly. If you want it to be akin to a more action-based, villainy-based thing, then yeah, you have someone hiding in the cloud, a bit like the J.J. Abrams thing. What is that just called, Star Trek? A race we know, but a different kind of ship from a race we know. We know it, but we didn't know this one, and this is different. And that would be getting away from the more sciencey, slow-paced, thoughtful, almost sensual style that this film has. And I am still very surprised it got made, but I'm happy it did the way it is. Not to say it's a perfect film, but I wouldn't want to see it turned into an action-packed torpedo firing epic.
I love the idea of unknowable thing that isn't really a villain.
No.
I love that. That to me is Trek. And I would have liked the end for Kirk or Spock to have to make a really horrible sacrifice. in this movie, Decker has to sacrifice himself, but he's happy to do it. It's not quite what I mean. I would have liked what if a planet full of, let's say, 6 billion life forms, innocent life forms, is in the path of this thing, and it actually has to be consumed. This planet has to be taken by this thing, and then it will divert course away from Earth or whatever. At the end of it, they're physically holding down Kirk because he won't go through with it, but it has to happen. There has to be a cosmic price that is beyond a simple human being's understanding. And that would have been really quite gut-wrenching, and as opposed to, I'm going to step into a light and I'm going to hug a bald woman and I'm done.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
If Decker was pulled kicking and screaming, like, I don't want this. I don't want this. You can't make me do it. That would have been quite horrifying too.
Yeah.
If it had been, one of the crew we cared about, not like the bald chick whose oath of celibacy is on record, and that's the only line she gets, and then she's a probe now. And then Decker, the guy that's like, well, we kind of needed you out of the way anyway because Kirk's captain and Spock's back, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
If it wasn't the two most expendable people were the ones expended.
Yeah, she's taken a vow to avoid being probed and then ends up becoming. Come on, Brad, that was for you, that line. I can't believe you've dismissed that. One thing we haven't really talked about is Vijay's trying to gather information. So I think it could work if it's meandering around, gathering information, i.e. fucking killing people. And so I think you could have had that you could have built that a little bit more. It is a threat to people. Maybe it doesn't really realize what kind of threat it is because it's following pure logic, although I'm not sure that works anyway. But
Spock mind melded with it. If there's billions upon billions of people inside it screaming to be let out, and they got to be like, well, to save the Earth, we kind of got to leave you guys here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that happened with the model photography, like they were shooting 24/7 basically, and then they gave themselves one day off. And on their day off, the air conditioners broke down and dripped water onto the Enterprise, and they had to repaint it.
Wow.
It just wrecked the whole, like it was dripping right onto the bridge, and just, their one day off put them 3 days behind because they had to repaint this.
For those who are interested in Trek or Trek fans who haven't seen this movie in a long time, would you actually recommend this movie?
I put feelers out to see what kind of movies they like. Are you a big fan of 2001 or Sunshine? And they're like, yep. Then I'd be like, well, then you should check this out. But if they're like, nah, those are boring, then I'd be like, no, you should give this one a miss then.
We're talking about Star Trek fans as a amorphous group and they're all the same, but they're not, are they? Because I think a lot of people take different things away from it, and there's enough of an amount, especially at this point. Now we are speaking 2025. There have been enough kinds of episodes. It's a bit like Doctor Who. Doctor Who enables you, well, I like that. I like the Dr. Light episode, or I like this episode. So I think anyone who's been through enough Trek would have probably seen something that's akin to this. Anyway, if you're talking about, as Corran says, like the regular person who's maybe not big into Star Trek, you would need to find out where they lean to be. I mean, I was thinking about my coworkers. I was planning on watching this at work because they have the Paramount Plus subscription at my office and I don't have it, so I wouldn't have had to have paid. I know that no one in that office would have sat through it. I know for a fact. Whereas if I put Wrath of Khan on, I'd have probably had 50% stay in the room. Not denigrating either film, but that is the truth of it. Yeah, and that's what I mean. I think you could recommend it to your quote-unquote artsy friends. I think you could, because I think you get quite a lot of silent head nodding, especially in that opening salvo.
It's one of my, kind of pet hates about movies now is that they're always in such a rush. You have your spectacle, but it's rushing. So if this movie was made this day and age, of course, the pacing would be much, much tighter. So this, well, for example, like the J.J. Abrams reboot, reimagining of Star Trek, when you see the Enterprise in space, he made a very conscious choice to make the ship so big it actually went outside the screen.
Yeah.
So you didn't get a full view of the Enterprise, and then you get a few kind of close-ups, and then boom, you're inside the ship. It's you never get a feel for that ship as a character in those three movies. But this movie, I think, Corran, you told it so well when we watched it. because you have this 5 minutes with this ship, that later on, when it's inside V'ger and it's the size of a pea, you really get a sense of everything so much more than you would have in a current slap bang, here we go movie. And like, I haven't seen Wrath of Khan in a very long time, but I couldn't tell you so it's, you've got the two ships fighting throughout that movie or whatever. I don't know which ship is bigger. Like, I don't know the size differentiation between the two. I don't know which has more weapons. I couldn't tell you. But this movie makes it very, very clear that V'ger is huge, and there's so much more that we never get to see. But you do feel, oh, it's just around the corner for a couple more 100 kilometers. Like, you feel there's more to see. In a current movie, it's like, that's as much as they've rented on the computer, and there's no more.
Yeah, they went out of their way in those early shots, the Enterprise, to always have a human floating around near it. So you're like,
maybe a bit too many humans, because they're just like fucking hanging around in space, like woohoo.
Yeah, but they're like,
there's got to be a fan edit on YouTube that's like just the shots of the Enterprise and those random dudes, and they're like, hey man, how you going? Just some random shit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were, I don't know how long they were working on it, but they were just like, oh, thank God that's gone. It's been nothing but trouble. But yeah, like, but because you've got all these shots of, like, you see through the window of the pod, so you know how big that pod, the shuttlecraft is compared to a person, and then you see people around the Enterprise, so they really make sure that you understand this is how big the Enterprise is. Because here's a person, here's the Enterprise, our eyes will just go, that's how big the Enterprise is, so that when you see it tiny later, you're like, God damn, this is big.
Mark,
because you could say, like, it's 15 AUs across, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Which okay, that's really big, but there's a difference between seeing that sense of scale.
Did you have any? Because in this movie, like, they step on the actual saucer of the Enterprise and they walk on to V'ger. I was shocked at how tiny the Enterprise is. I always thought it was much bigger, but when you saw it, you're like, yeah, like,
it reminds me of those. Have you ever seen those videos where they'll show the scale of things? So it'll be Godzilla in the original Godzilla, and then it'll
I love those videos.
Godzilla in whatever, and now here's the space whale from blah blah blah. I think you definitely, someone who's into dimensions could sit there and, like, there's the bit where the guy in the red suit's trying to get away from the lightning, so you've got that, and then you can, like, scale up and scale out. It reminded me a little bit of Red Dwarf. I don't know, did you get it over there?
We got it.
Yeah, that it would constantly pan across, and you'd be like, oh yeah. I mean, they were very proud of those models, obviously. And then you pan, oh yeah, okay, so that's that, and there's that, right? And I think if you're into that, this is probably the greatest film of all time in terms of working out sizing. And I'm not someone that built models. I don't have the patience for it, but I love listening to people who do that. Like, that's a weird thing I have. I'm a bit of like a model cuck. I like to hear other people talking about it rather than doing it myself. And watching this film, I loved all of that. And I think, is it First Contact where Worf is duking it out with a Borg on the saucer, and I didn't really get a scale from that. I got the, so again, the focus of that is these two big men are duking it out rather than what's the scale of what we're doing. I think of when I saw Gravity in the cinema, a film that no one really talks about anymore, but seeing that in the cinema in 3D was probably the scariest experience I've ever had at the cinema. I was terrified of space when I was watching that, because I felt like, oh my Jesus Christ, this is massive. And I like that. And space terrifies me because of the scale. So I like the fact that it spends so much time trying to illustrate scale to us. I really went in for that. But I was wondering But I always wonder what do the young'uns think about this. Luckily, I work with quite a few young'uns, so I get an idea of what they would think of this, and they would be on their phone within a split second of the film starting, wouldn't they?
Like to always finish with some lines that kind of stuck out, best lines from the movie. Spock's line, each of us at some time in our lives turns to someone, a father, a brother, a god, and asks, why am I here? What was I meant to be? You can point to that and say that is the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars. Star Trek is all about questions and optimism, the best of us. Decker to Kirk, V'ger expects an answer. Kirk replies, an answer? I don't know the question.
Mm.
And then, of course, how they end the movie, heading, sir? And Kirk says, out there, that away.
And then smiles, yeah. Are we to believe that what's their mission now? Just fuck about a bit.
Star Trek 2 opens and now the Enterprise is a training ship for cadets. And Kirk's back to being an admiral. So it's this weird reset.
Yeah, yeah.
Kirk's all miserable that he's an admiral and doesn't get to be a starship captain anymore. And you're like, oh, yeah, no, we're not exploring space.
What is the time difference? Like, is it to 2285 is number 2?
I think, is it 74?
2270s, yeah.
So they're possibly 11 years later. So what were they doing in those 11 years? Do we know?
They hadn't taken oaths of celibacy, so I assume it was just...
Yeah, so this is an adjunct to what we're talking about. The bald lady, so I just did a little bit of background in, because the whole point of their race is they are incredible at sex, right? And then once you've had sex with them, is that correct? I've read that on...
I asked you, Corran, because I was like, what the fuck?
Because it's weird that it's never explained in the movie.
No.
You're just like, what? She just blurts it out. And like when you learn that, and when they're like, our new officers, Delton and Chekhov's all like, oh, fine, yeah, all right. And he knows what a Delton is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah, there's all those looks between her and obviously Decker. And
that's definitely a Roddenberry thing, because he was always trying to push everyone's just fucking everyone in the future because we don't care anymore. He was always pushing that Next Generation, and writers had to be like, we can't do that on an 80s TV show, you'll get us cancelled.
Maybe is it Star Trek Lower Decks is probably the most sex positive.
I mean, Deep Space Nine, I guess there was some.
Yesterday, I watched the episode where beginning of season 4, and then Dax has just been in the holosuite, and she's got these two fuck boys, I suppose. You know what I mean? And then she's like trying to get
Kira.
Yeah, trying to get Kira in it. Go on, fuck him. Go on. And it's like like when they first, and Worf's like, oh, nice hat. Do you know the bit I mean?
It is a shame that what this movie was never followed through with anything else. I get the special effects, I get the action, I get the summer blockbuster of it all, but kind of would have been nice.
It's funny, Wrath of Khan. It's a funny film. This is maybe a hot take, controversial comment. That I like that film less every time I see it. Obviously, Multival is incredible in it, but I find there's just less there each time.
Yeah, it's obviously got more action, more pacing, and what it has to say about the human conditions, I guess, more personal. It's not like this big scope of one's almost like, what is it to be alive? Star Trek 2 is like, getting old's kind of a drag.
Yeah.
It's really, the other issue is when your movie's about feeling old's kind of a drag, and then you make 4 more where they get even older and don't bring it up again.
This is a bit sad, isn't it?
Speaking of a bit sad, thank you very much, listeners, for joining us on this episode. And thank you, Corran, for being our first guest host, guest star, whatever you want to call yourself. We are fine with that. We're non-judgmental here. Thank you for weathering the storm that is Mark's acidic wit.
I'm never coming back. Go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, please don't come back, because you've really shown us up here, mate. This has been a disaster for our future episodes.
One more quote that I forgot to put into the story about Nimoy wanting his royalties. When Michael Eisner, the head of Paramount, was told Nimoy will only come back if you pay him all these back royalties, he was quoted saying, the guy with the fucking ears, who gives a fuck about him?
Wow.
I watched some episodes. It was the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Wow.
To get people pumped for making Star Trek 1, they screened Star Wars and Close Encounters. And when Eisner saw Close Encounters, he's like, oh, what the fuck? We could have made a movie like that. And everyone was like, yeah, we were going to, and you shit canned it. So it's like,
I want you to play Eisner in the biopic, Corran, because just I like your reactions.
Can I be Roddenberry?
Yes, you can. You've got the sexual machismo to pull it off.
Oh, well, yeah.
Many thanks to Corran for joining us on this episode. It was pretty cute. Mark and I, we've been doing this for a while now, so we've got our own groove, our own comfortable style. So yeah, we were both curious about what it would be like to have a guest on. What would the vibe be? Would it be fun to record? Would the guest joke around and talk shit? Well, as you heard, it was a resounding yes on all counts. Yay! If you liked the sound of this Corran Lindsay fellow, you can follow him on Facebook at Corran Lindsay, or even better, go take a peek at his upcoming film, Taniwha Gorge. Listen to this for a synopsis.
1874. 7 strangers on a stagecoach journey across the wilds of the South Island of New Zealand. Stopping for the night, they awaken to find their horses slaughtered. Miles from civilization, they discover they are being hunted by someone or something.
Corran's been working hard on this for a while now, and the footage he's created is something special. It's been great. He's got a kind of proof of concept trailer. He's got a bunch of scenes in the mix. It's independent filmmaking at its best. Go check it out, Taniwha Gorge on Facebook. Next episode, well, we had so much fun this time, we're continuing with our guest host streak. Even better, we're covering a romantic comedy. Although, heads up, Mark has serious concerns about the romance and the comedy. Not only that, we're looking at a Christmas movie. Yeah, you get it, right? Because the episode will be released on December 5th. Yeah? Yeah. Oh, here, I got a clip ready to prove it and everything. Have a listen.
There's something so fun and so right about mature women laughing away over a couple of bottles of wine.
Right?
I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
Come on, have a go at that, Mark.
No. I agree. I've seen that in a lot of films, and I have no idea if that actually happens. So, Morgan, does it actually happen?
I think it varies on the friend group. Knowing my group of friends here, there's always that one that's the voice of reason, and then there's one that's like the far out enabler who's like, yes, do it, tie him up in your basement, and then the other one's like, honey, do you need to go see a priest? Like, it definitely happens.
That's right, a new episode, a new guest host, same old Mark and I acting like the happy idiots we are. Mates, look forward to our episode on Nancy Myers's It's Complicated, starring Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin. As you heard at the top of the show, we love it when people leave a comment on our Instagram, @WrittenOffPod, or even better, rate and review us 5 stars, and we'll read your review in a future episode. Why? Why not? What else you got to do, huh? You can find me on Instagram @BradIsWriting, but not Mark, because there's only so many screaming fanboys and fangirls he can take. That is it from us. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us. You, yes, you could be doing anything else, but you chose to hang out with us, and that is awesome. Until next time, stay safe, grab a slice. Written Off is hosted by me, Bradley Freeman, and Mark Tasker. It's produced by the both of us, and it's edited by me. Our theme music is by Skane, and our artwork is by Sketchfro. This has been a Pugnacious Podcast production.